Level 1. The Cadet. You're 19. First day of Air Force Academy. You've wanted this since you were 7, standing in an open field, watching a jet cross the sky so fast your eyes couldn't track it. The sound arrived after the aircraft had already gone. Something about that never left you. Academy is not what the recruitment poster suggested. The first month is entirely ground-based. Physical training before sunrise, classroom theory until evening, inspections at night. Your room must be immaculate, your uniform perfect, your bed corners sharp enough to satisfy an instructor who will find fault regardless. You understand eventually that the standard isn't the point. Learning to function under relentless pressure is the point. Aerodynamics, meteorology, navigation, systems theory, aviation law. The academics are serious. A pilot who half understands his aircraft's limitations doesn't stay a pilot long. Your first aerodynamics exam comes back failed. You find the errors, understand them properly, resit it. You don't make the same conceptual mistake again. First flight. A trainer aircraft, instructor in the rear seat. The runway stretches ahead and the aircraft accelerates faster than you expected. The nose lifts and the ground falls away beneath you. For approximately 4 seconds, you forget everything you studied. Then training takes over. Instruments, attitude, airspeed, altitude. Your instructor says nothing for the first 10 minutes. He lets you feel it. On descent, he quietly corrects your approach angle. You land hard. He says, "You flared too late. Tomorrow we go again." 40 training hours before you fly solo. 3 circuits of the airfield. Nobody in the back seat, nobody who can correct you if the decisions are wrong. You land the 3rd circuit and sit in the cockpit for a moment before climbing out. Your hands are completely steady. You notice that with some surprise. You graduate. Wings on your chest. You are now the least experienced pilot in the Air Force. That is the most honest thought you've had in 2 years. Level 2. The 2nd Lieutenant First Operational Posting. Fast jet conversion, the bridge between academy trainers and the frontline aircraft you'll eventually fly. More powerful, more complex, less forgiving of mistakes. Your flight commander is called Marsh. Quiet, precise, notices everything, comments on almost nothing. After your 3rd sortie, he sits across from you with your debrief notes and asks, "What killed you today?" You didn't think you died. He shows you 3 separate moments where a thinking adversary would have had you. You flew the aircraft well. You lost the fight anyway. Flying the jet is the easy part, he says. Thinking 3 moves ahead while flying it, that's what we're building. Conversion is months of progressively complex sorties. Formation flying, low-level navigation, night operations, instrument approaches, and simulated zero visibility. Every sortie debriefed in full, every decision examined. The culture is brutally honest, not unkind, but unsparing. A pilot who defends a poor decision in debrief is more dangerous than the pilot who made it. You complete conversion, cleared to fly the frontline aircraft. The day it happens, Marsh shakes your hand once and returns to his desk. That's the ceremony. You don't need more. Level 3, the 1st Lieutenant. 3 years in, qualified combat pilot. Real sorties behind you. You've flown exercises against allied air forces. Learned what it feels like when another pilot is genuinely trying to beat you. Won some, lost some, understood why in both cases. First deployment, not combat. A multinational exercise in unfamiliar airspace with unfamiliar procedures and pilots you've never briefed with before. The first week is disorienting in ways no simulator replicated. By week 3, you're flying as though the airspace is home. That adaptability, you'll realize later, matters more than almost any technical skill. One sortie goes wrong mid-mission. A systems failure. 3 things degrading simultaneously. The aircraft's still flyable but reduced. You run the checklists, communicate clearly, return to base early. The debrief lasts 2 hours. Every decision examined, every alternative considered. The consensus is that you handled it correctly. You sleep well that night. Not because it was easy, because you didn't freeze. Level 4, the captain. 7 years. You lead a 4-ship formation. 3 other pilots fly on your wing and your decisions shape the outcome of every mission. Leadership in the air is different from leadership anywhere else. You brief every contingency on the ground. Abort criteria, communication plans, threat responses. Once airborne, there's no time for discussion. Your flight trusts that what comes through their headsets is correct. That trust took years to earn and can fracture in a single poor sortie. First combat deployment, real threat environment, real consequences. The first time you cross into hostile airspace, the focus sharpens into something training never produced. A clarity that removes everything except the mission, the aircraft, and the threat picture. You complete the tasking. You bring your flight home intact. That night, one of your wingmen tells you it was different from everything he expected. You tell him you know. You don't say more. Some things don't need commentary. Level 5, the major. 12 years. squadron weapons instructor, the most demanding qualification in fast jet aviation. Months of training that tests everything simultaneously. Tactics, systems mastery, instructional ability, judgment under pressure. You instruct as much as you fly now. Watching student pilots make the same errors you made, resisting the instinct to intervene too early, letting them work through the problem because the working through is the learning. You understand finally what Marsh was doing in those early debriefs. Asking the right question is more useful than providing the answer. A student makes a serious airmanship error on a low-level sortie. Not dangerous, but a clear breach of procedure that becomes dangerous if left unaddressed. You debrief it fully without softening it. He's frustrated. You let him be. A week later, he flies the same profile correctly and can explain precisely why the procedure exists. That understanding will stay with him long after the frustration fades. Level 6. The Lieutenant Colonel. 18 years. You command a squadron, 12 aircraft, 20 pilots, engineers, operations staff, a readiness requirement that never sleeps. The flying continues, but command sits above everything. A pilot in your squadron is accumulating pressure invisibly. You notice it before he does, in debrief responses that are slightly defensive, in decision timing that's fractionally slower. You pull him aside, not a formal review, a conversation. He doesn't admit to anything immediately. You don't push. 2 weeks later, he comes to you himself. You put the support in place quietly. He returns to full flying duties 4 months later. He goes on to become one of your best flight commanders. Command means seeing the person inside the pilot. The rank doesn't tell you that. The years do. Level 7, the Colonel, 23 years. Wing Commander, multiple squadrons, hundreds of personnel, strategic planning at joint operational level. You brief generals. You represent your wing in allied coordination meetings where the decisions affect forces you'll never meet. A junior pilot stops you in the corridor before a morning brief. He asks, carefully, like he's not sure he should, whether the career is worth what it costs. The time away, the physical toll of high-G flight on a body that isn't 25 anymore, the things you miss that don't come back. You think about it honestly before answering. There are days it costs more than you planned for, you tell him, but I have never once sat in that cockpit and wished I was somewhere else. He nods. You're already late for the brief. Level 8, the General, 29 years. You haven't flown operationally in 3 years. The decisions made at this rank carry weight the cockpit never did, affecting entire forces, entire theaters, generations of pilots who will fly aircraft you'll never touch. You visit the conversion unit sometimes. Watch the student pilots walking to their aircraft in the early morning, helmets under their arms, still learning that confidence and competence are not the same thing yet. One day, they will be indistinguishable. Not yet. You remember Marsh and the debrief notes. 3 moments where a thinking adversary would have had you. You remember sitting in the cockpit after your first solo, hands steady, surprised by that. Somewhere right now, a 7-year-old is standing in a field watching a jet cross the sky faster than sound. The noise arrives late. Something about that moment is going to stay with them for the rest of their life. They don't know yet what it will cost them. They don't know yet what it will give them. They're about to find out. The cycle continues.